The bustling marketplace of Xillian was a sight to behold, a vibrant tapestry woven with the colors and sounds of countless alien races. Stalls overflowed with goods from every corner of the galaxy, from shimmering fabrics that changed hue with a touch to exotic spices that filled the air with tantalizing scents. The market was a testament to the diversity and complexity of the universe, a place where the ordinary and extraordinary coexisted in chaotic harmony. Lady Seraphina Zyre navigated the crowded market with a grace that belied her authority. As a member of the Zanari, an ancient and aristocratic race known for their elegance and telepathic abilities, she commanded respect and admiration wherever she went. Her flowing silver robes and intricate headpiece marked her as someone of significant status, and the crowd parted effortlessly before her. At her side was Varric, her loyal advisor and confidant. A burly figure with a stern demeanor, Varric was known for his sharp mind and unwavering loyalty to Seraphina. His keen eyes scanned the surroundings, always alert for potential threats or opportunities. As they strolled through the market, Seraphina's mind was occupied with thoughts of her latest acquisition for her expansive estate. She had come to Xillian to find something unique, something that would stand out in her collection of rare and exotic items. But despite the array of fascinating artifacts on display, nothing had captured her interest. That was until she reached a dimly lit corner of the market, where a makeshift stage had been set up. A group of bedraggled humans stood in chains, their expressions a mixture of fear and defiance. Human slaves were a common sight in the galaxy, Earth having long since fallen under the dominion of various alien races. To most, they were seen as little more than property, useful for menial tasks and labor. Seraphina had never paid much attention to human slaves. They lacked the exotic appeal of other species, and she had always considered them mundane. But as her eyes scanned the group, they fell upon one man who stood out from the rest. He was tall and muscular, with a rugged appearance that spoke of a hard life. His dark hair was matted and his clothes were tattered, but it was his eyes that caught Seraphina's attention. They burned with a fierce intensity, a defiance that had not been crushed by his captivity. He stood tall despite his shackles, his posture radiating strength and resilience. "Who is that?" Seraphina asked, her curiosity piqued. Varric followed her gaze and raised an eyebrow. "That one? He's called Ethan Carter, a former soldier from Earth. He was captured during a raid. They say he's been nothing but trouble, defiant and difficult to control." Seraphina felt an unexplainable pull towards Ethan. There was something about him, a fire that intrigued her. "I want him," she declared. Varric looked at her in surprise. "Are you sure, my lady? Humans are rarely worth the trouble, especially one as rebellious as him." "I am sure," Seraphina replied firmly. "There is something about him. I must have him." Varric nodded, knowing better than to question Seraphina's instincts. He approached the auctioneer and began negotiating the purchase. Seraphina watched from a distance, her eyes never leaving Ethan. She could see the hatred and suspicion in his gaze, but also a flicker of something else. Hope, perhaps? The transaction was completed quickly, and Varric returned to her side. "He's yours," he said, "but I must warn you, taming him will not be easy." Seraphina smiled, a spark of excitement in her eyes. "I do not wish to tame him, Varric. I wish to understand him." As Ethan was brought before her, their eyes met. Seraphina could see the defiance in his gaze, but also a spark of curiosity. She reached out and gently touched his face, feeling the roughness of his skin. "Welcome to your new home, Ethan," she said softly. "I believe you and I have much to learn from each other." Ethan stared at her, his expression unreadable. "I am not your pet," he said, his voice steady and strong. "No, you are not," Seraphina agreed. "You are much more than that. Come, let us leave this place." As they walked away from the market, Seraphina felt a sense of anticipation. She had no idea what the future held, but she knew one thing for certain. Her life was about to change in ways she could never have imagined. The journey to Seraphina's estate was a silent one. Ethan sat in the corner of the opulent transport vessel, his eyes scanning the surroundings with a mixture of awe and wariness. The ship was a marvel of advanced technology, its interior adorned with luxurious furnishings and shimmering crystals that cast a soft, ambient light. Yet despite the comfort and elegance, Ethan's mind remained focused on escape and survival. Serafina watched him from her seat, her expression thoughtful. She could sense the turmoil within him, the clash between his defiance and the unfamiliar world he found himself in. She knew gaining his trust would be a long and challenging process, but she was determined to understand the man she had purchased. When they arrived at the estate, Ethan was taken aback by its grandeur. The sprawling mansion was set against a backdrop of lush gardens and flowing fountains, a paradise of beauty and tranquility. The Zanari were known for their appreciation of art and nature, and Serafina's home was a testament to their aesthetic sensibilities. "You will be given quarters here," Serafina said, gesturing to a wing of the mansion. "You are free to explore the grounds, but you will be accompanied by guards until I am sure you pose no threat to yourself or others." Ethan nodded curtly, his eyes darting around as he took in his new surroundings. Despite the apparent freedom, he knew he was still a prisoner, bound by invisible chains of obligation and surveillance. Days turned into weeks, and Ethan slowly began to acclimate to his new environment. The estate staff treated him with a cautious respect, acknowledging his status as Serafina's personal acquisition. Though he was still monitored closely, he found moments of solitude in the expansive gardens, where he often sat and pondered his situation. Serafina made it a point to spend time with Ethan each day, engaging him in conversation and learning about his past. She listened intently as he spoke of Earth, of his family, and of the war that had torn his world apart. She was particularly fascinated by his tales of human resilience and ingenuity, qualities that seemed both alien and admirable to her. One evening, as the sun set over the horizon casting a golden glow over the estate, Serafina invited Ethan to join her in the grand library. The room was a treasure trove of knowledge, filled with ancient tomes and holographic displays that documented the history of countless civilizations. "Tell me about your home," Serafina said, her voice gentle and inviting. "What was it like before the war?" Ethan leaned back in his chair, his gaze distant, as he recalled memories of a world he might never see again. "Earth was beautiful," he began, his voice tinged with nostalgia. "We had vast oceans, towering mountains, and cities that never slept. People were always striving for something better, pushing the boundaries of what was possible." Serafina listened, her curiosity piqued. "And your family? What were they like?" A shadow passed over Ethan's face. "I had a younger sister, Emily. She was bright, full of life. My parents were hardworking, always doing their best to provide for us. We weren't wealthy, but we had each other. That was enough." Serafina reached out, placing a hand on Ethan's arm. "I am sorry for what you have lost," she said sincerely. "I cannot imagine the pain you must feel." Ethan looked at her, surprised by the genuine compassion in her eyes. "Why do you care?" he asked, his voice filled with suspicion. "I'm just a slave to you, a possession." Serafina shook her head. "You are not a possession, Ethan. You are a person, with thoughts and feelings that matter. I bought you because I saw something in you, something that I wanted to understand. I do not see you as a slave. I see you as an individual with a story worth knowing." Ethan was silent for a moment, processing her words. He had expected cruelty and indifference from his captors, but Serafina was different. There was a kindness in her, a desire to connect that he had not anticipated. "Maybe," he said slowly, "maybe you aren't like the others, but that doesn't change the fact that I'm here against my will." Serafina nodded. "I understand, and I will not pretend that your situation is fair, but I hope that in time you will see that I am not your enemy." As the days passed, Ethan found himself opening up more to Serafina. He began to appreciate her genuine interest in his well-being and her efforts to make him feel more at home. She introduced him to the estate's library, where he spent hours reading about the galaxy and its myriad cultures. The knowledge he gained only fueled his desire for freedom, but it also gave him a new perspective on his captor. One evening, as they sat in the garden, Serafina asked Ethan a question that had been on her mind. "Do you hate me for what I am?" she inquired, her voice soft and vulnerable. Ethan looked at her, surprised by the raw emotion in her eyes. "I don't know," he admitted. I used to think all aliens were the same. But you've shown me kindness, and it's hard to hate someone who treats you like a person." Serafina smiled, a warmth spreading through her heart. "Thank you, Ethan. Your words mean more to me than you know." Their bond grew stronger with each passing day, the lines between master and slave blurring into something more complex and profound. Ethan still harbored dreams of escape and freedom, but he could not deny the connection he felt with Serafina. She had become more than just his captor. She had become his confidant and, perhaps, his friend. One night, as they sat under the stars, Serafina spoke of her own past. She told Ethan about her family, her upbringing, and the pressures of living up to her status as a Zanari aristocrat. For the first time, Ethan saw her not as an alien, but as a person with her own struggles and vulnerabilities. "I've always felt different," Serafina confessed. "Even among my own kind, I've never truly belonged. I've spent my life seeking something, someone who understands me. And when I saw you, I felt a connection I couldn't ignore." Ethan listened, his heart softening towards her. "Maybe we're not so different after all," he said quietly. As they sat together, the barriers between their worlds seemed to dissolve, leaving only two souls who had found each other against all odds. Their journey was far from over, but they faced it with a newfound understanding and a bond that transcended the boundaries of their respective races. The nights on Xilian were a surreal blend of serenity and wonder, illuminated by the soft glow of bioluminescent flora and the distant twinkling of alien stars. It was during one such night that Ethan found himself wandering the gardens of Serafina's estate, his thoughts a tangled mess of conflicting emotions. The serenity of the environment contrasted sharply with the turmoil inside him. He had come to care for Serafina, but the reality of his situation as a purchased slave haunted him. As he meandered through the lush greenery, he came upon a secluded pond, its surface shimmering with a faint ethereal light. Serafina sat at its edge, her figure bathed in the soft glow of the surrounding flora. She looked up as he approached, a look of surprise and delight crossing her face. "Ethan," she called softly, "what brings you here at this hour?" "I couldn't sleep," he replied, sitting down beside her. The night air was cool and fragrant, a soothing balm to his restless mind. "There are things I need to understand." Serafina nodded, sensing the gravity of his words. "Ask me anything." Ethan took a deep breath, his gaze fixed on the shimmering water. "Why did you buy me?" he asked, his voice a mix of curiosity and frustration. "Out of all the others, why me?" Serafina's eyes softened as she regarded him. "I saw something in you, Ethan, a strength, a fire that intrigued me. When I looked at you, I felt a connection, something I couldn't ignore. I didn't fully understand it at the time, but now I realize it was more than just curiosity." Ethan's heart pounded in his chest. "And what is that connection now?" Serafina hesitated, her eyes searching his face. "It's love, Ethan," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "I've fallen in love with you." The words hung in the air, laden with emotion. Ethan felt a surge of feelings he had been trying to suppress. His heart ached with the weight of his own emotions, the conflict between his longing for freedom and the undeniable bond he felt with Serafina. "I think I've fallen for you too, Serafina," he confessed, his voice trembling with the intensity of his feelings. A look of pure joy spread across Serafina's face. "Ethan," she whispered, reaching out to take his hand. "We can face whatever comes together." Their relationship deepened in the days that followed, each moment spent together strengthening their bond. They shared their dreams and fears, their pasts and hopes for the future. Yet the outside world continued to encroach upon their private sanctuary. The social and political structures of Xilian did not favor relationships between aliens and humans, especially not between a mistress and her slave. Whispers and rumors began to circulate, putting both Serafina and Ethan under scrutiny. The Zanari aristocracy viewed their relationship with disdain, seeing it as a threat to their rigid societal norms. Serafina's peers questioned her judgment, while the estate staff, though respectful, couldn't hide their curiosity and occasional disapproval. Determined to confront the issue head-on, Serafina decided to petition for Ethan's freedom. She knew it would be a bold and risky move, but her love for Ethan gave her the courage to face the challenge. She spent days preparing her case, gathering evidence of Ethan's courage, integrity, and worth as an individual. Varric, though initially skeptical, supported her, recognizing the depth of her feelings and the sincerity of her intentions. The day of the hearing arrived, and the Grand Council chamber was filled with dignitaries and officials. Serafina stood before them, her voice unwavering as she made her case. She spoke passionately about Ethan's qualities, highlighting his resilience, intelligence, and the positive impact he had made on her life. She argued that he deserved to be recognized as a free being, not as a possession. Ethan watched from the sidelines, his heart swelling with pride and love for Serafina. Her courage and determination filled him with hope, but also with anxiety about the outcome. The council members listened intently, their expressions unreadable. After what felt like an eternity, the council finally reached a decision. With a mix of relief and joy, they declared Ethan a free man. The chamber erupted in murmurs, but Serafina and Ethan only had eyes for each other. As they left the council chamber hand in hand, Ethan turned to Serafina. "What now?" he asked, a smile playing on his lips. "Now," Serafina said, her eyes sparkling with happiness, "we build a life together, free from the chains that once bound us." Their journey was far from over, but they faced it with a newfound strength and love that transcended the boundaries of their worlds. Together, they embarked on a path of discovery, forging a future where love and freedom reigned supreme. The council's decision had sent ripples through Xilian society. Whispers of discontent and curiosity spread, but Serafina and Ethan were resolute in their determination to forge a new path. Their love had weathered challenges, and now they stood at the threshold of a new beginning. The days that followed were filled with a mix of excitement and uncertainty. Ethan was officially a free man, but the weight of his past and the reality of their situation lingered. They knew that their relationship would continue to face scrutiny and opposition from many quarters. Yet they were undeterred, drawing strength from their bond and their shared vision of a future together. Serafina used her influence to secure Ethan a position within the estate that allowed him to contribute meaningfully while maintaining his newfound freedom. He took on the role of an advisor, helping to manage the estate's operations and forging connections with other free humans and sympathetic Zanari. His insights and experiences proved invaluable, earning him the respect of many who had initially viewed him with skepticism. One afternoon, as they walked through the vibrant gardens of the estate, Ethan turned to Serafina with a thoughtful expression. "I've been thinking," he said. "There are many others like me, humans who are still in chains. We should do something to help them." Serafina nodded, her eyes reflecting her agreement. "I've been considering the same thing. We could establish a sanctuary, a place where freed humans can come and rebuild their lives. It won't be easy, but it's the right thing to do." Their plan quickly took shape. They began reaching out to allies and gathering resources, determined to create a haven for those seeking freedom. The project attracted attention, both supportive and critical, but Serafina's reputation and Ethan's leadership helped garner the necessary support. As the sanctuary grew, so did their sense of purpose. They welcomed freed humans, offering them education, training, and opportunities to thrive. The sanctuary became a beacon of hope, symbolizing the possibility of unity and understanding between different races. One evening, as they sat together under the starlit sky, Serafina leaned against Ethan, her head resting on his shoulder. "We've come a long way," she murmured, "but there's still so much to do." Ethan kissed the top of her head, his arm wrapped around her. "We'll do it together," he said softly. "No matter what comes, we'll face it side by side." Their love had grown stronger through their shared struggles and triumphs. They had transformed the estate into a place of refuge and possibility, a testament to their commitment to each other and to the ideals they held dear. However, their journey was not without its dangers. There were those who viewed their efforts with hostility, seeing the sanctuary as a threat to the established order. Rumors of plots and conspiracies reached their ears, but Serafina and Ethan were vigilant, determined to protect their vision of a better future. One night, as they reviewed plans for expanding the sanctuary, a sudden commotion outside their study drew their attention. Varric burst in, his face etched with concern. "There's an attack on the outer perimeter," he reported. "We need to act quickly." Serafina and Ethan sprang into action, their hearts pounding with a mix of fear and determination. They rushed to the scene, coordinating with the guards and staff to repel the attackers. The battle was fierce, but their unity and resolve carried them through. In the aftermath, as they surveyed the damage and tended to the wounded, Serafina took Ethan's hand, her grip firm and reassuring. "We'll rebuild," she said resolutely. "No one will deter us from our path." Ethan nodded, his gaze unwavering. "We're stronger together," he replied, "and together we'll overcome anything." Their resilience inspired those around them, strengthening the bonds within their community. The sanctuary continued to grow, becoming a symbol of hope and defiance against oppression. Years passed, and their efforts bore fruit. The sanctuary flourished, and their message of unity and compassion spread across Xillian and beyond. Serafina and Ethan's love remained a constant source of strength, guiding them through challenges and triumphs alike. As they stood together on the terrace of their home, overlooking the thriving sanctuary, Serafina smiled at Ethan, her eyes filled with pride and love. "We've built something remarkable," she said softly. Ethan wrapped his arms around her, his heart full. "And we'll keep building," he replied, "for ourselves, for those who come after us, and for the dream of a future where love and freedom know no bounds." Their journey had been long and arduous, but it had led them to a place of fulfillment and hope. Together they had transformed their world, proving that love and determination could overcome even the greatest of obstacles. And as they looked to the future, they knew that their story was just beginning.